Right now we have an energetic singer coming up here. He puts his heart and soul in his song. He's known as a Glory Road Traveler. For 30-some years he's been the Glory Road Traveler. It's none other than Jerry Ott. He resides down in the Eugene, Oregon area. He's going to have his friend Frank Walden playing guitar along with him. Now Jerry's going to be playing bass as he sings. So, and like I say, this is the Glory Road Traveler. If you'd like to have him do a concert for you, get some of their music or whatever. If you get a hold of us, we'll tell you how to get a hold of them, okay? I know you're going to enjoy this song. It's got to bless your heart unless you're dead.
That's right.
It's simply entitled, Let's Have Church. So enjoy.
Well, crank up the music. Let's have church. Well, let's forget about ourselves, put Jesus first. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty words. Crank up the music, let's have church. Well, now David said to clap our hands and to shout with a loud voice. Every time I come to church, I have to make a choice. We can sit in our seats, we can act like we're asleep, or we can stand and praise the King of Kings. We'll crank up the music, let's have church. Well, let's forget about ourselves and put Jesus first. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty words. Crank up the music, let's have church. Well, in them old camp meeting days when I was just a child, the music would start playing and we'd step out in the aisle. We'd drink the living water until it quenched our thirst. Turn up the music, let's have church. Well, crank up the music, let's have church. Well, let's forget about ourselves and put Jesus first. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty words. Crank up the music, let's have church. Well, I'm tired of hearing people screaming at a football game. Then they come to church and they act real quiet while I praise Jesus' name. Well, if you feel the way I do, why don't you get out of your seat and let the Spirit move you from your head down to your feet. Well, crank up the music, let's have church. Well, let's forget about ourselves and put Jesus first. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty words. Crank up the music, let's have church. Well, crank up the music, let's have church. Well, let's forget about ourselves and put Jesus first. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty works. Crank up the music, let's have church. Well, let's clap our hands and testify about his mighty words. Crank up the music, let's have church.
That's what you call singing Southern gospel song right there.
Southern gospel at its best. Let's have church. Folks, we need to have church this day and age. So we trust that that song blessed you and lifted your spirits.